Keep fingers crossed that everything's working. 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 Okay. We starting now? Hello and welcome to Performance e-streaming for round 5 of the Anzcar X Infinity Series Thursday Night Thunder here at Chicagoland. I'm Carl Withy. I'm going to be doing the commentary tonight, and joining me for some of the commentary and doing most of the video work is Matt. Okay, so we're just finishing up qualifying here, and Matt Danso is currently at the top of the timing sheets by the looks of things. Everything should be there. So just before we start, we're just going to go quickly and run through the championship order. Currently leading the championship with 169 points is Hayden Dodman. Second place is Jason Martin with 162 points. Sitting in third is Matthew Cloyd with 156. Third, a joint sort of third place. Sorry, wait, am I? Joint fourth. Sorry. It's Ashley Lear and Josh McLemore with 141. Edward Foster is in 6th. Daniel Grozowski is in 7th with 134. Chris Purnell with 131. Mirko Dantes with 126. Riley Curtis and James Foster in 10th place with 119 each. And qualifying is over. Looks like Matt Danso has taken the pole for the race with Michael Callow in 2nd, Hayden Dodman in 3rd, Daniel Grozowski in 4th, Carl Sloggett in 5th, Jason Martin sitting up in 6th, Matthew Cloyd in 7th, Edward Foster 8th, Riley Curtis 9th, and Stephen Williams in 10th place. Now the grid will just be forming up, so we'll get ready for that. Now, so far, watching through practice today, I have noticed we have been having a few troubles generally coming out of turn 4, so do expect turn 4 to be one of the problem points for the track tonight, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. A lot of drivers in the practice session today have been having problems with that. It's one of the trickier corners on the track. This track being sort of almost completely turning left all the way round, you have to be very careful. Now, the lower line is the preferred line for most drivers on this track, although you can run too wide without too much problems. And we're just forming up now. Now, do forgive us if there's a couple of small pauses and little problems. We've just got a couple of teething problems just going into this, so I do apologise in advance if there are some little problems there. Okay, now the cars are forming up. Now, with the championship leaders, they're sitting in 3rd and 6th place at the moment. Jason Martin looked to be having a little bit of problems again during that turn 4 tonight, so do expect hopefully not to see some problems. So we do hope it's a sort of cleanish race, but I am expecting to see a few drivers having some problematic moments around that turn. And the pace car leads the grid away. And everybody's ready to form up and get going. So we have a 27 cars. Where are we? How many cars are we on track at the moment? So we have a good field of around about, it's like 25 cars, I think, just looking at my timing and scoring. So we've got a good field tonight for the race. Everybody's just coming around. Pace car is forming everybody up nicely. Now, the start is going to be an interesting one here. We've got a few drivers that we expected to be a little bit further up the field, slightly out of position, and that can cause some interesting effects. Now, with and here we go, everybody's starting, and boogity, 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 let's go racing, guys. And away we go. And Matt Denson has stayed in the lead. Hayden Dodman has got up to second by the looks of it. Very good start by him. Michael Callow has fallen down to third place. And it looks like we've got a relatively clean start from everybody, which is really good news. And the field's going to start forming up. Now, this is where you really need to start forming up, getting into the swing of things, getting into sort of a groove, basically. Now, most people will be running sort of too wide at the moment. The front is getting into a point where they're starting to bump draft, getting in free adrift, so they're starting to pull away even at this early stage of the race. Matthew Clitt has just got up into fourth place, and as you can imagine, there is quite a few changes through the field at the moment, as everybody settles in for the race itself. The front runners are starting to get a little bit of a gap here already, just with the three long line of abreast cars. Obviously, when you start running in that formation, you do start making a big nice gap for the cars behind you, making it a little bit easier for them to get some speed. But if they break away from the pack, they could get a very good lead here early on in the race. Now, currently, it looks like Roger Clark is at the back of the field. Everybody's sort of forming up, getting things relatively good there. And the midfield is working its way around as well. There is plenty of position changes. But now it's the moment of time where you need to just start getting focused on the end, like getting focused for the race itself. You need to start getting into a pattern and and Matt Danson has just lost the lead to Hayden Dodman, actually. Hayden Dodman has just got in front of him. Expect there to be quite a few little changes of position on ovals, of course. It is good to have those slight position changes. Will just help with your tyres and keep them relatively fresh. Now let's just have a little look at the mid-pack here. So the midfield is starting to form up nicely now. We're starting to get single file cars. A couple of people are managing to run the high line. A few people were running it very well in practice earlier on today, and it's something you really want to get the car set up for if you're running mid-pack for this race. Having that ability to run the high line really can make for a really good race car here. And we're just having a bit of a look at the midfield now, just jumping down to a few of the cars just down in sort of the lower ends of the pack, and we've got some good fights for position going on. Currently, looks like Bruce Smith is having a very good fight at the moment, and Sam Katalzunis is having a very good fight with Joshua Carroll Walden at the moment. And Hayden Dodman is actually taking quite a good lead at the moment. He's taking a very good position. He's really pulling out a decent gap this early on in the race, which is very, very good for him. He's managed to break away from the rest of the pack, it seems. And Matt Danson is starting to fall a little bit behind now, with Michael Callow just getting in front of him too. He's this is very good for Dodman's championship. It's still early in the race. We've only just gone past the 9-lap mark, but being in the lead is never a bad place to be. On the 10th lap, it's Hayden Dodman that has the lead. He's leading by around about 2.8 seconds currently, which is a very decent size indeed. The midfielder has just started to sort of pack up a little bit. There's not too many fights happening at the moment. Everybody's just settling into the race, which is what you want to do. You just want to start getting into a rhythm of things. If you start pushing too hard, you can really push the tyres. We do expect this to be a 2-stop race if we run fully green. Possibly 3 stops if you are having a little bit of scrubbing on the tyres. Of course, fuel can be a little bit of an issue depending on how fast you're running. If you're running it too rich and running too fast, you can of course start to run your fuel a little bit too quickly, and that can be a problem when you're leading the pack as well, because of course you don't have that lovely big hole in the air that the rest of the midfield is sort of generating for you. When you're behind another car, obviously you start getting a little bit less sort of air coming towards the car. It can of course be a bad thing for the heating of the car, but it can just help a little bit with the fuel economy of the vehicle. And as we see that, Michael Callow and Matt Danso are just pulling out a little bit from the rest of the pack. So down in 4th place, Jason Martin is heading up the rest of the field. And just overtaking him now is Matthew Cloyt by the looks of it. And they are running sort of 2 abreast at the moment. Martin is running on the high line currently. He's running high. The rest of the pack is forming up nicely behind them. As they start to form up, they will just help each other, just push each other forwards a little bit, and that is the main hope for it. Now, Josh McLemore just took Daniel Grozowski for 7th place. Currently sitting in 6th place is Edward Foster. 5th place is Matthew Cloyt. Jason Martin in 4th. Matt Danso 3rd. Michael Callow 2nd, and Hayden Dodman in 1st. And Hayden Dodman is absolutely taking a great lead at the moment. He is currently almost getting to the 3-second mark in the the 2-second mark in the lead, which is a very big gap indeed on this track. There's around about 3/4 of a second between 3rd and 4th at the moment. The packs are sort of breaking away and getting into their positions, and looks like big change actually just happened. Daniel Grozowski just had a little bit of trouble there by the looks of things. Just hop back in quickly just to see what's going on down the pack. So, where are we? So, yeah, Dan Grozowski dropped from around about 7th down to 10th. He's dropping a little bit more. Ashley Lear has just passed him. He's just fallen back in the pack a little bit there. Doesn't look to be any troubles from what I can see. Hopefully if we pick up anything, he'll just let us know, but hopefully it's looking like he's okay, but it just looks like he's just dropped out in that pack battle. And Edward Foster, just in 6th place, is just taking Josh McLemore. He's trying for the inside line at the moment. Looks like he's just trying to get into that new position of 5th place. Jason Martin's looking a little bit lonely now, sitting up in 4th currently. Just keep going along. And Hayden Dodman is indeed extending his lead slightly. He's pulled out a 2.3 second gap now on the rest of the pack, which is a fairly decent lead here. So without any yellows or cautions, he may be in a very good position here if we run green for the rest of the race. Of course, that is a big if. This is a very long race. We still have a long time to go. We're just on lap 20 sort of now. We're just getting towards lap 20, so we still have a fairly long race to run, and expecting everybody to go through without a caution is a big ask at the moment. And Chris Purnell there just had a very good little run. He's just sitting in 9th place at the moment. He's having an absolute excellent race, actually. He's managed to gain 7 places since the start of the race. So he's really pushing his way up the field nicely, as well as Ashley Lear, currently in 7th place, who has managed to take 5 positions. Now, Ashley Lear has been having a very good run lately. He had a fantastic race last time out at Sonoma. Managing to get pole position, and I think finished 3rd, if memory serves me correct there. A very good race indeed. Sitting up in 5th with Josh McLemore, who's managed to gain 6 positions since the start of the race. Again, a very good run there by Josh. He's currently sitting just behind. He's actually just managed to take Jason Martin, actually. That is a very good pass position there by Josh McLemore. Really nice move there, down on the inside. And he's going to have to start seeing if they can start chasing down the rest of the field. Now, 2nd and 3rd are still sitting sort of relatively far away from the pack, the main sort of pack area, with Hayden Dodman having a really nice lead at the moment. It's almost 2.5 seconds now for the lead for Hayden Dodman. It's around about a second between 3rd and 4th now, with the sort of packs starting to separate a little bit. 4th and 5th now separating from the rest of the cars, down with Ashley Lear in 6th place, now leading the rest of the main field. It looks like James Foster is trying to get some decent positions down in the lower places. He's currently sitting in 15th and racing with Joshua Carroll Walden. Side by side there, James Foster on the inside in the number 14. And he's managed to just get through past Joshua Walden. So he managed to get back into 14th place where he started. Joshua Carroll Warden there has actually had a very good race so far. He's managed to get 2 places up from the start, which is a decent position gain. Again, running in this large pack during the midfield, as you can see. Now, Chris Purnell is currently sitting in 8th, and he's managed to gain 8 positions. Just actually getting past Edward Foster there by looks of things. Good little race here with Edward just on the inside, just a swapping position as Purnell manages to sit on the outside line there. And he's just falling in just back behind Edward Foster. Again, just trying to probably save a little bit of fuel. There's no point in racing too hard this early on. As long as you can keep in the front of the pack, you're still going to be in good position for a possible win. You don't want to be too far back, of course, but it's not too important to be sort of leading the race at this moment. The most important lap to lead, of course, is the last lap. And many a race has been won on that last lap. In fact, I think it was IndyCar actually have their closest finish here. I'm trying to think who it was now. I cannot for the life of me, but they do have the closest record finishing here. Now, the midfield is starting to close up on 2nd and 3rd place, with Michael Callow and Josh McLemore now very close together. They're running the closest we've seen for many a lap. Hayden Dodman is pulling away even further now, almost 3 seconds in the lead. But we have a good fight for second, third, fourth and fifth place. Currently, with sixth place Ashley Lear just coming into the battle, by the looks of it, just coming up behind Jason Martin there. This pack is running relatively close together. They're getting a good little bit of drafting going on, and that's going to help them. I think people need to start thinking about getting into positions where they can possibly catch for the leader. Even though it's still early in the race, if he does start getting that lead away and starts lapping people, it could start causing problems later on down the track. Hayden Dodman is definitely pulling away at a decent rate at the moment. And a good little battle here with Michael Callow and Matt Danson fighting away for third and where are we? Third and fourth place by the looks of it. There we go. Sorry, Josh McLemore and Michael Callow, fighting away for third and fourth there. And Jason Martin is just coming up on the inside line. It looks like Michael Callow may lose 2 spots on this lap. He's starting to fall a little bit behind. Jason Martin's got a good inside line there, and you will see people cutting this track slightly, trying to make it as sort of straight as possible, especially down the start-finish straight. It's a common line there for the racing. And Jason Martin's just falling a little bit away from the pack now. He's managed to get out of the... he's sort of lost the draft slightly, and it looks like Michael Callow and Josh McLemore have just fallen in line astern, and Jason Martin's the loser of that little battle with Ashley Lear. Oh, and we have a yellow. And it looks like Aaron Dillon has had a bit of an off there. So Aaron Dillon's had a little bit of an off there by the looks of things. I'll just wait for the read. So he's coming up. And a little bit of an off. He's spun round. There we go. He lost it coming out of one of the corners. Okay, so we're under caution now, so expect everybody to dart into the pit lane when they can. It's a little bit early, we're on lap 33, but tyres are going to start to be thought about here, and people are going to start to have to think about dashing into the pit lane to get their service and some fuel. So a strategic pit stop could be a good idea here, and Hayden Dodman has of course lost his beautiful lead that he was getting there. So it does help the rest of the field catch up. And here we see everybody dashing into the pit lane now. So it's looking like everybody's coming into the pit lane. And we'll keep it sort of Hayden Dodman. I'll keep an eye on Hayden Dodman. So here we go, everybody's getting in. Doesn't look like anybody's stayed out on track. And Dodman there, the third car in the row, and everybody's getting their services done. And away they go, everybody's getting out of the pit lane, and it looks like Matt Danson is the winner there, getting ahead of Hayden Dodman, with Michael Callow possibly getting in second. So let's see. So we'll just wait for everybody to finish shaking out and getting into position. So yeah, Hayden Dodman has indeed fallen from first to second, with Matt Danson taking the lead in that pit stop. Darren McKenzie there just heading up the back of the field. He's currently sitting in last place, but he will be able to get this lap back, which will be good for him. Okay, and we're currently under the yellow flags with the field out. So currently sitting in first place we have Matt Danson, second place Hayden Dodman, Michael Callow is sitting in third, Joshua McLemore is sitting fourth, Jason Martin in fifth, Chris Parnell in sixth, Edward Foster at seventh, Ashley Lee at eighth, Daniel Gorowski in ninth, and Stephen Williams in 10th place. Now outside of the top 10 we have James Foster in 11th, Sam Kasowski in... Sorry, I'm having trouble with his last name, Sam. Katakazunis in 12th place, Dave Douglas sitting in 13th, Dwayne Price sitting 14th, and the rest of the field is just shaking out now. Fifteenth is Matthew Clote. He's actually had a bit of a poor race so far, falling down 8 spots. Daniel Stevens in 16th, Joshua Carroll Walden 17th, Nicholas Walsh in 18th. And the rest of the field is just forming up now. And we will be going back to green very shortly, I imagine. Okay. Field is just starting to form up now. We're getting ready for the restart. So we have Matt Danson in first, with Hayden Dodman in second. Matt Danson is on the inside line, Dodman is on the outside line. So the rest of the field is starting to form up into position. We will be going back to green very, very shortly. So as the field just forms up, we've got just hitting lap 36 now, and the field starts to form up, and it's green and it's go, go, go. Matt Danson has managed to keep the lead, Hayden Dodman second. The cars start to fall into position. It looks like Jason Martin's got a very good run up the inside. He's currently in fourth now. Just pushing Jason McLemore there, who's stuck on the outside line. He's just trying to get back into formation now behind Jason Martin. Chris Parnell sitting in 6th with Edward Foster just behind him. Ashley Lear following with Daniel Gorowski, and James Foster now in 10th place. So it looks like Jason Martin's having a good run there. He's still sitting in 4th. He's just sitting a little bit outside of Josh McLemore. Matt Danson is holding the lead currently. He's managed to keep Hayden Dodman just behind him, and Dodman's just got through on the... just got through and past Matt Danson. So Dodman has just got back into the lead. Danson sitting in second with Michael Callow behind him. Now Dodman has really done well. He sort of qualified a little bit lower than I think he expected, and he's managed to put that pace back onto the car for the race. He's definitely having a better race pace than he is sort of qualifying pace by the looks of things. So Nicholas Walsh is sitting in 19th. And looks like Roger Clark's just come through, 21st. We are back to racing. So So just going back in the pack here, the midfield and lower pack is starting to form up now. We've got a few good places changing position. Dave Douglas there just getting a good little run. He's managed to get up to 11th place, which makes 10 places this race so far, really good. Matthew Ployt sitting in 12th place just behind him. And Sam Katakaskunis, I do apologise about saying your name again. I'm going to stuff that up every time. I might just go with Sam, it might be easier. Sitting in 14th place there behind Stephen Williams. Now front is starting to, again Dodman is starting to get a little bit of a lead. Michael Callow is getting a really good run here. He's just got past Matt Danson, and Jason Martin is just sticking to the back of Matt Danson there. Callow had a very good run there from the inside line. Okay, and looks like the front is starting to get back into a position of racing, and Jason Martin there is just getting a little bit racy, just sitting onto the back of Matt Danson, just trying to get a nice little toe from him. Sitting in a good place at the moment though. And just pull down the field a little bit. So it's like everybody's starting to settle down a little bit. Currently we've got a few little battles down the field. Looks like Sam and Daniel Stevens are having a little bit of a battle down at the back here. Sam's managed to get 7 places since the start, and the midfield is starting to form out into a single file line as well. Edward Foster just falling from 6th place to 7th. Josh McLemore just coming back up the field. Chris Purnell is having a very good run at the moment. He's managed to get to 5th place. Really good drive by him. 11 places gained since the start, so must be very happy with that. And having a good little fight there. Jason Martin is now got Purnell just on the back of him. He's just going down just on the inside of Matt Danson by the looks of things. So Matt Danson there has got Jason Martin there just on the inside of him in 3rd and 4th place. A nice little battle for me up here. Chris Purnell sitting neatly just behind this pack, and looks like Purnell might get a good draft from Matt Danson there. He might be able to just get past Martin on the outside. It's like Martin does prefer the inside line rather to the higher line by the looks of things. Okay, and we've got a good fight here just in the top sort of 8 positions here. So Josh McLemore and Edward Foster there having a very good little battle. Ashley Lear has just taken Josh McLemore's spot as well. Ashley Lear having a very good drive again. As sort of expected, Dodman is starting to take a good lead here. He's starting to pull out a decent gap. He's over a second ahead of the rest of the field now. Again, he's just getting into the rhythm, and he's been having a very good race so far. Absolutely loving this track by the looks of things. Okay, and as the order starts to settle in a little bit, things are definitely going well for Chris Purnell in 5th place. He's just ahead of Edward Foster now, and he's just got to start catching up to the Jason Martin-Matt Danso battle. So Chris Purnell's just sitting on the tail of Jason Martin now, so he's just looking for that 4th place. He's climbing his way up the field really, really well at the moment. As we're just hitting lap 49 of the race. And it's like Purnell is just on the inside there. He's just getting on the inside of Jason Martin there, trying to get down the inside line, the car number 21, which is Jason Martin. Edward Foster just getting past Ashley Lear as well. Nice little pass position for him. Now Michael Callow is just getting a little bit of a gap from third place as well. He's pulling away a little bit from Matt Danson. But again, we're starting to get the sort of the leader pulling away by a fair amount, and then the rest of the field falling up into a nice group at the moment. We've got 2, 3, 4, and 5 in a sort of group, and then 6, 7, and 8 in their own little formation at the moment. Of course, everybody's back onto fresh tyres and things like that, so again the cars will be feeling nice and hopefully won't be sort of scrubbing out their wheels and feeling like they're a pig to drive around the corners, which is always a nice feeling. Getting cars back onto fresh rubber is never a bad thing. And Jason Martin's little group is pulling away a little bit from the rest of them. Chris Purnell is managing just to hold on there, with Edward Foster following up, who's just been taken, is having a bit of a fight there with Josh McLemore. So 6th and 7th are falling away from 5th at the moment. Almost got a 2-second gap for the lead now. Hayden Dodman is definitely enjoying this track tonight. Okay, and the battle going on just behind Chris Purnell is starting to heat up a little bit. So Josh McLemore there with Edward Foster and Ashley Lear behind him. They're having a nice little dice for position. They've just started falling away a little bit from the main group. And Daniel Brzezowski is starting to catch up with them, as along with Matthew Cloyt. James Foster, sitting back there a little bit further away, in 8th place, is starting to get a decent run. Daniel Brzezowski is sitting just behind him, so... sorry, I was just looking at the wrong names. Edward Foster has just started falling down the order a little bit there, to 8th place. A little bit of a bad lap there for him. Ashley Lear's just taken him, so Josh McLemore in 6th now. And Ashley Lear in 7th. And looks like Chris Purnell's just having a nice dice there with Josh McLemore. And Josh McLemore has just managed to get ahead of Purnell there. Really nice moves there. So Chris Purnell has actually fallen down to 7th. He's just lost a place to Ashley Lear as well. Ashley Lear and Josh McLemore there working really well together, pushing each other up the field at a relatively good pace. So in the lead we still have Hayden Dodman, who is now 2.5 seconds in the lead, with Michael Callow sitting in 2nd. The battle for 4th, 5th and 6th is heating up a little bit, with Matt Danson, Josh McLemore, Ashley Weir and Chris Purnell in 7th. They're managing to have a good little dice out on the field. I reckon poor Hayden Dodman's going to be feeling a little bit lonely out there tonight. He's not going to be getting too much airtime. The rest of the battle is sort of just behind him, unfortunately. It's one of the unfortunate things of being in the lead by a decent amount is you do tend to get a little bit lonely out there and miss some of the action. Got a good little battle here. Ashley Lear and Matt Danson having a good little dice position now. Matt Danson and Ashley Lear fighting for 4th and 5th. Ashley Lear having a very good race again, coming up from getting 7 places so far this race. Of course, there is a long way to go. And got a bit of a good fight happening at the back of the field with Bruce Smith and Norman Clark having a good little battle for position down in 19th and 18th. So the back of the field is having a nice little dice position. Everybody's starting to get a little bit spread out now. The field is starting to fall into position. There's a relatively decent gap from Matthew Clote to Daniel Brzezowski, who's currently sitting in 9th place. So the cars from 9th place onwards are starting to pull out a decent gap from the rest of the field. Still got to try and catch up to the leader, Hayden Dodman, who's currently sitting 2.8 seconds in the front. Well, Michael Callow there is starting to have a bit of a fight with Jason Martin. Jason Martin's just got behind him. He's going to try and go for the outside line. Now he's just been blocked off from the outside by Michael Callow there, so he may have to try for the inside. He's just decided to ease off a little bit and not go for the position. This is allowing Matt Danson and Ashley Lear to start catching up to him. Now Jason Martin's just going for the inside line there, and he's going to get past Michael Callow by the looks of things. He's got a very good position here, good run there, good run into the first corner, and he is free for position. But it looks like Michael Callow is going to try for the outside line. He's trying to get a good bit of run, but it looks like Jason Martin has managed to get that position and make it stick. Now, just behind them, Matt Danson, it looks like, is creeping up quite well. So Matt Danson and Ashley Lear are having a very good battle, with Josh McLemore as well getting into the mix here. But this group of 5 drivers is having an absolute great little battle on the track currently. We've just hit lap 64, so we're just about halfway, just over halfway. My maths is not great, trying to work out lap times and lap positions. 59 laps remaining, so yes, we're over halfway. We've just made it over half distance. Jason Martin there has just managed to pull out a nice bit of gapping from the rest of the field. He's starting to get away from Michael Callow. So Jason Martin's just starting to pull up a little bit of a gap here now from Michael Callow, around about 3/4 of a second. So a decent bit of gap there from the rest of the pack. And the rest of the pack is Michael Callow, Ashley Lear, Matt Danson, Josh McLemore, Chris Bonnell, and following up a little bit further behind now is Edward Foster. So the main pack is sort of pulling away a little bit from everybody 8th onwards. 8th and 9th position are sort of on their own at the moment. There's a decent gap to Matthew Clote from Daniel Brzezowski in 9th place, so it looks like the main packs are currently sort of pulling away now. And Michael Callow there sitting in 3rd place. Has got Ashley Lear sitting right behind him, and Matt Danson trying to get on the inside. The third and fourth place cars just getting a high line there, while the fifth and sixth place cars are taking the lower lines. So that can be if you can get your car working on both of those grooves, if you can get your car working on the outside and the inside line, you're going to have a very good car for this race. The track is technically a two-groove track, so you can run either on the slightly higher or lower line, but it is best to run on that lower line here. People do prefer it. You can get a slight high line going through the last couple of corners, and then you can cut down for the across the start-finish straight to make it as sort of straight as possible, getting you a decent bit of time there. But sometimes it can be a bit tricky because of that change in camber of the track. You can find yourself sometimes having to really hold onto the wheel. Now Jason Martin is actually starting to close in a little bit on Hayden Dodman now. Jason Martin's putting in some very good times, and he's managed to take around about a quarter of a second out of the lead. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack from third to seventh are sitting around about 4 seconds behind the leader. So the sort of main pack group are starting to form up and sort of lose a little bit of time. They're not falling back too far, so yellow can bring everybody back into the game. A couple of people have started ducking into the pits for a secondary stop by the looks of things under green flag conditions. So it looks like Darren McKenzie and Bruce Smith have both pitted, just getting their second pit stops out the way. If this does run green for the rest of the race, then we will start to see people pitting very not too soon, but they will start looking at pitting in probably the next 10 to 20 laps, I imagine. People will be holding out and hoping, of course, for a yellow flag now and a full course caution, because that will mean they get a decent pit stop out of them, and they can probably go for the rest of the race from here out if they do get a pit under yellow anytime from now on. We've got a very good run here that was Bruce Smith just rejoining the track there. Bruce Smith, we've got a lapped car now in the pack, so Michael Callow's just coming up behind Bruce Smith. Jason Martin's got past him, and Jason Martin's just lost a little bit of time again. The gap has edged out to 3 seconds from Hayden Dodman. And a few more people are starting to pit in. Looks like Matthew Cloyd has pitted. So we may start to see the lead pack and front runners looking at a pit stop relatively soon. They are going to start hitting traffic as we come. It looks like Hayden Dodman has got Phil Otto up in front of him at the moment. Phil Otto is just a little bit in front of Hayden Dodman. He's going to start getting the lapped cars in now. And of course, unlike Formula 1, you're not obliged to jump out the way of the leading pack. You can fight for your position. So sometimes it can be a little bit dangerous getting through those lapped cars. You do have to watch yourself, but it does mean that drivers have to have that skill of passing lapped cars, which I think is a very important skill to have. Now the pack from 3rd to 7th are still relatively closely formed up. They're around about 3 seconds ahead of 8th place currently. The pack down to 8th and 9th are currently falling away a little bit from the sort of lead cars. And we've got Michael Callow and Ashley Lear having a bit of a fight for 3rd and 4th place right now. They're in some good positions, with Matt Danson currently sitting in 5th. Now Jason Martin's starting to get a relatively good gap between himself and the rest of the pack by the looks of things. He's pulling out about a 2-second gap from the rest of the field, and he's sitting around about that 3-second gap from the leader, which is a relatively stable gap at the moment, which he will be pretty happy with. Okay, and a few more people are starting to pit by the looks of things. A lot of the backfield people in the sort of lower part of the field are starting to pit at the moment, getting that second stop out of the way. That can work out quite well if you get a couple of cautions. If it does remain green for the rest of the race, of course, it can sort of being out of sequence can be a good place to be occasionally. Of course, the people that are a lap down from pitting will be able to get that lap back if the caution flag does come out, so they will be sort of praying for that to happen. Currently, everybody is sort of in the top 10 are sort of keeping out by the looks of things. Jason McLemore and Matt Danson are having a very good fight at the moment. Matt Danson is just falling just behind Josh McLemore. Chris Pennell is sitting just behind them as well in 7th, trying to get sort of around the car of Matt Danson currently. Now it's going to start getting closer and closer to that lead field having to pit, so they will start thinking about it. People are going to have to think about a good time to pit, of course. It can be very important at this stage of the race. If you do pit when the front runners are starting to hit traffic, you can actually start to gain some good positions, trusting that you don't fall into the same peril. If you manage to get out in relatively clean air, you might be able to pull up a bit of a gap and get a slight undercut. But it looks like Hayden Doddsman is not having too much trouble there, just getting past a lapped car of Phil Otto. And we're starting to get some people coming into the pit lane now. We're starting to get some of the front runners coming into the pits. So Matt Danson and Michael Callow are in the pit lane at the moment. Along with Josh McLemore. And this is where you start to pray that a yellow doesn't come out. Got Edward Foster as well heading into the pit lane. Try and find my lead.
Good evening, Carl.
Hello Roger, how are you going?
Good
Something to join us. And we've got a yellow, we've got a full course yellow. So we have got a yellow come out. Just trying to see what happened there. Actually, I missed it. It looks like Aaron Dillon has gone into the wall, possibly. He's got a big crunch on the front of his car. It looks like there is some damage there. So we have got a full course caution, and this is going to shake up the field quite a lot. Hayden Dodman there, who looks like he hasn't pitted just yet, is going to get a sort of free pit stop right now. A lot of the people that had pitted, of course, are going to be slightly out of position. This can be a real shake-up to the rest of the field. So this will absolutely shake up the field a bit. It's going to put some people out of position. We're joined in the commentary box by Roger. Good to have you here. Good to have somebody else in the commentary box with me.
Yeah, good to be here after a bit of a sketchy drive.
A bit of a rough race out there for you?
Yeah, I ended up having a bit of gearbox failure.
Oh no, that is not what we want to happen. I'm very sorry for that.
Yeah, slick shift drive coming back onto the rear tyres, just lifting up, that deep into the run, send me around.
Oh no, that is not what you want.
Yeah, I've decided to park it instead of causing a big wreck.
Well, it's probably a wise choice to make. If you've got a box full of neutrals, you don't want to be dealing with that too much. So our leader has just pitted. So how's the track out there tonight?
It's pretty good in the beginning of the run. Getting a lot of drive off the corners, and sort of obviously as the tyres start wearing in, you start getting a tiny bit looser. Then I think what quite a few people have expected. I know I was getting like fairly frosted up coming out of turn 2, sort of really charging hard up to the wall. Like you could feel a bit of bite sort of down in the apex, and the car would rotate real hard. But yeah, the track isn't bad. It's sort of favouring a low line at the moment still. More so than what you see in the real world, where you see a lot of the drivers running the high line. But yeah, so it's been a rather interesting race from my perspective, from in the car, and now just up here in the comm box giving you a hand.
A much welcome hand, absolutely. It's been a bit of a night of technical issues for everybody, I think.
Oh, you sort of get that with, we're all still pretty new to the whole streaming thing, and, I think you've held the fort, so to speak, quite well, and that's been doing real well with the capital work that I've seen, so, slowly but surely we'll get these technical glitches out, down the front of the decent show, sort of get the old stock car racing out there to the masses in Australia, New Zealand, and hopefully the rest of the world too. Show them that it's not just the Americans that get turned left.
Absolutely. We need to show the world that the Aussies are quite good at left turns as well.
Yeah, there's a few of them in there that are, they're exceptionally fast. Dodman there, Jason Martin, of course. In fact, it sort of goes without saying. I mean, he is the reigning Anzcar champion. So even Josh McElroy and Danny Grziskovic, Danny G, as everyone knows him, they're all extremely fast over races.
Yeah, they've been putting on a good show so far, and it's like everybody's starting to form up now, so we're going to start going back to green very shortly. The pack is a little bit messy at the moment, but we are forming up. The lap cars have gone past the pace car, so Hayden Dodman has kept his lead, with Ashley Lear in second, Dave Douglas sitting third, Riley Curtis fourth, Norman Clark sitting fifth, Nicholas Shields sitting sixth, Jason Martin has fallen to seventh, Chris Purnell eighth, Josh McLemore ninth, and Danny G sitting in 10th. That's going to make my life a lot easier now. I can just go with Danny G rather than going the whole name.
Yeah, no, everyone knows him as Danny G. So, yeah, there's been a few silent movers in that top 10. Norman Clark, he's moved up back of the pack.
Yeah, he's been having a very good race actually. He's been running very quietly, but he's been getting up to position. I think he was one of the people that maybe pitted under green, and has just put himself up into that position really well. So the pace car has gone in, the cars are coming around the first start finish. Dodman is in the lead, and we are back to green racing, and here we go. This is really going to be a bit of a start. I expect possibly some problems in the sort of the pack. Hopefully we won't see too many, just because there are a fair few cars that are out of position at the moment. Ashley Lee is currently in second. It looks like he's had a very good restart there. And Dave Douglas has actually taken up to third place. Oh,
there's a bit of contact in Dan Stevens into...
and we're back under yellow.
Full auto and Nick Walsh. That's no good.
Ah, drat. So, missed that one myself. So, what happened there?
I'm just kind of wanting...
Lovely, thank you, Matt.
Yeah, it looks like Dan Stevens just gotten into full auto. I don't think anything intentional. Driver of Dan Stevens' experience. So I don't think anything intentional. It's one of those racing deals when everyone's all still bunched up, pushing hard on the old fresh tyres.
Absolutely, and as he said under the pace car as well, the tyres start to lose a little bit of heat, things like that, so you do have to be a bit careful for the restarts. So we've got Edward Foster and who else was that coming into the pit lane? Nicholas Walsh, I think.
I'm sure I've just seen
Matt Danson as well, I think, has gone into the pits.
Yeah, Matt Danson's in the pits. They're taking an awfully long time in the pits. I imagine they've got minor damage that they might be trying to get repaired up. Tactic you do see used quite often is that drivers will go in under caution, try and get as much repaired as possible and come out, do a half stint, most of a stint till the next caution, and then try and dive back into the pits and get the cars as far repaired as possible.
Try and get them looking back in showroom condition, of course.
Yeah, well, as good as the 100-mile-an-hour tape will let them.
Don't underestimate 100-mile-an-hour tape. That stuff will do wonders.
No, I've learnt never to underestimate it, and I can remember Dale Learnard going over and having a big wreck, and then driving back to the pits and getting his car all taped up and still coming out and racing and finishing the race. I believe it was at Daytona, if it serves me correctly.
I think that's the one, yes.
Yeah, he was always my favourite driver growing up.
Earnhardt was an absolute legend.
And that's, I think, to me personally, that's the whole deal with stock car racing. If you're having a bit of a bad run, like you see drivers having a bad run, but a lot of them will just hang out there, sit tight, try and repair the vehicle as much as they can, and then get back into it, and, finish the race. And we're still early on in the season, so points are still up for grabs, and she's fairly tight at the top, as they say.
Every point matters at this stage. It's one of those things, you can win a championship by 1 point or lose a championship by 1 point. So even if you don't finish in the top sort of 10 almost, you're still going to get a couple of points out of it. You're still going to move up in a position, and it can help out towards the end of the season.
Yeah, well, that's right. I've had it sort of from where, you just need to finish races consistently, and you can end up winning seasons like that. It just takes the leaders to have a few sour races, and you find yourself leading the season, and first or second in the points division, and that all counts.
Yeah, motorsport's a bit like that sometimes. It doesn't matter if you're leading. Sometimes it could all go very, very wrong, and a couple of races where you have bad luck, sneeze in the wrong corner, and you can throw a championship away just like that. Yeah,
I see the lights are out on the pace car, so it's time to go racing again. We've got Hayden Dodman and Ashley Lear, the two Torque teammates, first and second. So it should be quite an interesting restart, I think.
Yes, Dave Douglas is sitting just behind him with Riley Curtis and Norman Clark and Nicholas Shields now in sort of the 5th and 6th spots.
Yeah, it's about 2 full teams that are running tonight, sitting in the top 4.
Teamwork does help in this position, of course. You do want to be in that sort of having that team environment, because you can always help these set up, get into positions, and start following. So the pace car's just gone in, and we're just getting back under green right now. So Hayden Dodman's just on the inside line, with Ashley Lear on the outside. The pack is starting to sort of jostle for position right now.
Yeah, a bit of three-wide racing between the 920, 83 and 21. Well, it looked like it's going to be three-wide, but...
yeah, they're still sort of holding slightly free wide in some corners, not quite.
I think that's actually one of the joys of Chicagoland. Out of all the sort of 1.5 mile overs, always makes us some really, really good 3 and 4 wide racing with Garrett Anzcar.
And we just got a bit of contact, and into the wall goes... who was that just went into the wall? Looks like Darren McKenzie has just gone into the wall. He was just helped, I think, possibly by Nicholas Walsh. Didn't quite see it. But Darren McKenzie there is facing the wrong way, so we're back under yellow. As always, cautions breed cautions in motorsport.
Yeah, and unfortunately on an oval, it shuts the race down for the next 5 laps, and the laps are all winding down. We're sitting on lap 93 of 123, so...
Yeah, so 28 laps to go.
We're well within a fuel tank and a set of tyres, so this could be, if it runs green the rest of the way, the final pit stop.
Yeah, so you're getting around about 29-30 laps for fuel and pit and tyres at this race so far?
No, actually a bit more than that. Off memory, it was a bit more than 40.
Okay, so I think everybody's stopped around about... I wonder if anybody's going to try and go to the finish with their last stop, so trying for a 2-stopper here. I wonder if anybody can possibly do that.
Stranger things have happened.
Well, we've had a very... there's been quite a lot of cautions, and of course, you know, that does mean that your fuel economy is going to go way up in those periods.
Yeah, I think, you know, there are a few drivers who take part in the Thunder Series that we've seen in the open setup Gen 6 series that we run once a month to run Watkins Glen this weekend. It was Steve Williams. He actually won the race on the fuel strategy, and you know, he was real slow, and everybody just charged past him, and you know, everybody who ended up charging past him had to pit in the last 10 laps, or they weren't going to make it, and he actually took the win. So, you know, depending on the driver, it
just looks like the car 20, number 20, Bruce Smith, has got a very big engine problem. There's quite a lot of smoke coming out of his car currently.
Oh, that's no good.
And there's a lot of oil on the windscreen as well, so it looks like he may be out of this race with engine problems. Yeah,
I wonder what happened there, because he would have either been carrying some damage that may have done some damage to his cooling system, or, you know, the panel works folded over his intakes, his air intakes and stuff like that, and yeah, I'm actually just gonna go back and try and have a look and sort of see what's happened.
Yeah, it looks like there's definitely something critical has happened on the car. It's not in a good shape for sure. Edward Foster's pitted again.
I tell you what it is. He's it sounds like he's over-repped somehow coming past the pace car. There's Lucky Dog lap. Obviously, for those who don't know oval racing too well, Lucky Dog is the first car on the one lap down who, well, in iRacing hasn't been involved in a wreck, and they get a free pass to get their lap back and get back on the lead lap. And unfortunately for Bruce, it seems like he's the unlucky dog tonight.
Yeah, that is a very unlucky thing to happen. You know, especially when you're on the lucky dog lap, to over-rev it and just have the engine blow. That is a really, really misfortunate thing to have happen.
Yeah, it's you know, he was pushing hard earlier on. I do know with these cars, and right, these oval race cars in iRacing, once you sort of get your engine temperatures up to any sort of real critical temperature, that I always say that the motor becomes a bit of a hand grenade, and you know, the pin's pulled and you just don't know when it's going to go off, kind of thing. Because I've had the motor let go. I've touched, you know, got the engine oil temp to the red line temp, and then you know, sort of slowed back down and brought it all down, and you know, 10-15 laps later she's just gone poof, and that's it.
And it is always a horrible thing to have happen when the car starts to make that slight grinding noise and you know what's going to happen, but you just don't know when. Especially when you're sort of in a good place for the race as well. I can imagine that's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, it is. It's never a good feeling, and you know, luckily at the moment iRacing doesn't have the oil on the track effect, but I don't know, I would like to see it in there. I mean, it would make things a bit more interesting, you know. Somebody ahead of you's engine decides to let go of the gearbox or something, lets go, and you know there's oil all over the track and you don't actually realise it till you get there, and sideways at 200 miles an hour is always good for making certain parts of the body pucker up.
Yes, it's a terrifying thing when the car lets go at sort of speeds above you know 200 miles an hour. It's never a good feeling. Of course, the other thing with that is it would be nice if they added something like quick dry or something like that, so you could sort of have that effect. Things like that could be a really interesting effect on the racing, because it would take away a part of the line, of course.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, I do know sort of from
and pace cars coming in, so we are back to green flag racing, and Dodman is back in the lead.
I think Dave Douglas looks like he spun the rear tyres in that restart.
Sensibly, he's dropped down to the inside to let people past, not trying to hold position and cause a bit of a wreck.
Yeah, no, very very good thinking there by Dave. He's normally extremely competitive, and he does know what he's up to, and seeing him sort of drop down, letting other drivers pass, and obviously a very wise thing he's done there. You know, sort of able to keep himself in the running for the race.
That's it. You've got to be in it to win it, basically, and keeping the car in a relatively decent shape and not having it crashed up and you know bits of it missing is much better than having it spread across the track in 1,000 different pieces.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Kyle, we've seen that before, and it's, you know, the driver is a bit embarrassing and rather frustrating for everybody else who gets caught up in the wreck, but it's, you know, one of those things, cold tyres on the pace car for 5-6 laps, and you know, big old cold tyres don't have much grip, and well, you get that sort of thing. You know, 500, 600, 700 horsepower to the ground in a hurry.
That's it, and it is a big part of motorsport. Avoiding the crash is just as important as not crashing sometimes.
I think that's, you know, as much as oval racing's about speed and, you know, sort of going as fast as you can, I think that's sort of 60% that and 40% wreck avoidance, especially on the big super speedways. You know, we've got the old restrictor plate racing, you get bunched up cars, and we're actually heading there the next round of the Thunder Series, so that should be quite a cracker of a race. During some very, very good racing.
Yes, and, absolutely. Daytona, isn't it?
Yeah, Daytona. And as they say, there will be a big one.
Absolutely, there's always a big one. It's like Le Mans. There's always rain at Le Mans, and there's always a big one at Daytona.
Yeah.
So currently Chris Pennell sitting in second place. He's managed to gain 14 spots from the start, really good. Dave Douglas as well sitting in fifth with 16 spots gained from the start. Again, a really good drive there. Actually, Dave Douglas has just jumped up to third position, I think. So nice driving there by him. Good position there. Ashley here just dropping down a little bit, with Chris Pennell getting into second place. Chris Pennell's had an absolute stunning race so far. He's been driving really, really well, keeping really close to the pack, not having sort of not fighting too hard, but also not letting go much as well, like keeping very close to everybody, which has been really good.
Yeah, I think Chris Pennell's actually been showing quite a lot of really, really good pace lately. You know, he's come off wins in the trucks, and well, it's the K&N Series too, and you know, he's riding the wave, as they say, and you know, power to him for doing so. If he can catch up to Dodman, you know, he's sort of almost a second away, and unfortunately, it's not road racing, and a second is a long time in road racing.
Absolutely. And you can see it actually when you look at the track. You can see just how far Dodman is ahead of everybody. He's been having a very good race, so just managing to put that gap pretty much straight away after any restart.
Yeah, Dodman's always been a bit of a force to be reckoned with when it comes to oval racing. Sort of the first time I came across him and the Tour team, sort of in general, was when V8 Online was running their fixed truck series, which two series. Started off with Anzcar and, you know, trying to bring back oval racing to our area, and it was always Hayden Dodman who was always the lead. It was him and Jason Martin just absolutely going for it.
And just
bit loose.
Yeah, a bit loose there by
oh no, and he's into Danny G.
Oh no, and there was a big smash there.
Oh no, this is not good.
And poor Danny G was just a bit of a passenger in that accident there.
He's still going. He's got a lot of damage in the rear, and looks to be both the rear and the front of the car. So he'll, for all intents and purposes, be driving a big old parachute at the moment.
Absolutely, he's going to be sort of having to get into the pits and get that fixed up, of course. Hopefully he'll be able to get a little bit of that bodywork fixed up for the restart. Big shame there, he's been having an absolute fantastic race, and just the car looked like it let go going through the corner there, mid-corner, just looked like he had a bit of a tank slapper.
I think that's what I was talking about earlier on, where you sort of get to the middle of the corner, and basically, you know, like how it felt when I was driving. I don't know if, you know, if the other drivers are feeling the same thing, but when you sort of get to that apex where the car now sort of floats through the corner, it sort of feels like at that point in time the car sort of seesaws over and bites in, and actually just, you know, it just bites in and wants to go, man. And, you know, the rears sort of feel like they start spinning up just a tiny bit more than, you know, than what their grip will allow. And yeah, if you're not quick enough, you end up with a big loose like that. And unfortunately, when you're in the pack, big loose like that generally causes a bit of a wreck.
It ends up not being a good position, so everybody's ducked into the pit lane now. So everybody's sort of ducking in for that last stop by the looks of it. And looks like Jason Martin actually got a fantastic pit stop there. He looks like he's jumped Hayden Dodman and the rest of the field. Fantastic pit stop by Jason Martin there.
I think he may have taken 2 tyres in that pit stop. It's been right sides only.
Yeah, it could be a very good strategic move. We'll have to see how it goes for the remaining. There's only 14 laps remaining, so it's not like you're going to need too much rubber. So hopefully, if he can hold on to it, this may be a really good move by Jason Martin. A good position for him for the championship as well.
Yeah, I think with the 2 tyre strategy, you know, it can pay off if you're capable of driving the car. That it makes the car feel extremely loose because you've got all that grip on the right side. No, he's faking coming down pit lane and not doing it. Thought he might have gone for the left side tyres, but anyway, like I was saying, like with all that extra grip on the right hand side of the track as you turn it left, it just wants to throw your car so hard around the corner. And a lot of drivers I've seen do put onto, you know, the right sides only, and they do end up crashing. You know, it doesn't always pay off. But that being said, even if he can drive around the problem of being that much looser, he's still going to be slightly slower than Dodman if Dodman's gone on 4 tyres.
So it's always better to have 4 fresh tyres than 2 fresh tyres. You're going to gain the time advantage you gain in the pit stop, you are going to lose on the track. But with only possibly about 12 to 11 laps remaining, you might be able to just hold on long enough that the effects of that sort of tyre degradation might not be enough to really show through. So it's going to be an interesting last bit of a race, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it should be pretty close to the line, as we see Josh Micklemore's now moved up into 3rd place too, followed by Ashley Lear. You will notice Ashley Lear's got a bit of damage to the front of his car, so that would explain why he's slowly been dropping back ever so slightly. Chicagoland, just because it tends to have very, very close qualifying and race times, or lap times rather, any sort of damage sets the car back a whole bunch. So I'm kind of expecting to see Leo still drop back even further, you know, as cars with no damage come flying past, and you know, he's just not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, it's amazing what a little bit of damage can do on a track like this. It's one of those tracks that you really do start feeling if you do start getting damage, of course. You really want a car that's really sticking to the track as well. With the constant left turn almost of this track, any sort of slight problems, and you can really feel it. I imagine it really must be quite taxing.
Yeah, well, one of my teammates, he, I mean, you know, I've just got a little G27 type wheel, and one of my teammates who drives an open sim wheel, he's always saying, you know, just how taxing the oval race cars are to drive, you know, because he says they fight you when you drive them, and, you know, they don't want to do what you want them to do. You've got to sort of coax them to do what you want them to do. And anyway, we're going back to green flag racing in just a moment. As Jason Martin
forming up.
Jason Martin on the inside and Hayden Dodman on the outside.
Yes, with
leaves the track, and we're off racing.
And a good start there by Jason Martin. He's just managed to get just ahead of Dodman relatively well and put himself in a good defensive spot. Josh McEnroe in third, Ashley Lear fourth, Riley Curtis fifth, Dave Douglas sixth, Stephen Williams seventh, Matt Davidson in eighth. So we should hopefully see, hopefully we'll get green until the end now.
Yeah, good. Would really make for a good close finish, I think. Sort of keeping an eye on the battle first.
Yeah, if Jason Martin can manage to keep Hayden Dodman boxed up behind him, it's going to be a very close finish, because Dodman has had a very fast car all race.
I think that's just Dodman's skill. I mean, all these cars being on a fixed setup, you know, that nobody's really got the advantages. It's all just down to driving, which is, I think, part of what, you know, what makes the competition that we have in the Thursday night rugby races, and actually in the Anzcar races in general, you know, sort of makes that good.
Absolutely, having an equal playing field is a really nice thing, because sometimes it can feel, you feel a little bit sort of cheated when somebody just has that perfect setup and you don't.
Yeah, I don't know, I think that sort of comes down to each to their own, because I actually prefer driving the car that I've set up, like, you know, it always suits your driving style, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I like a very loose car that I can, you know, throw into the corner at the last second and still manage to keep grip, keep the car turning in, and, you know, like, I find that a lot easier to drive than the stock setups we get with iRacing. They're always a little bit tight.
That's it, and it looks like Hayden Dodman's just got the inside, and he's just got through underneath Jason Martin there. A fantastic place and taking of the lead. Jason Martin's trying to get the inside line to try and get it back from Dodman.
So I think what we may have had there is Jason Martin getting a little bit tight just on that entrance to 3, and that'll be due to just only taking the 2 tyres.
That's it. It may start to haunt him now. Yeah.
But he's thinking he shouldn't have faked going into the pits and actually gone into the pits, put on the other 2, taken the hidden positions, and get a car that can keep up.
That's it. He's had a relatively fast car all race. He's managing to stick to Dodman a little bit at the moment. Dodman's generally been pulling out quite a decent lead once he's got past somebody, so this is the first time we've really seen anyone sort of challenging him all race. Hayden Martin's managing to get a little bit of a decent run here up into the sort of final couple of turns. He's sort of sticking relatively close to him. This could be a good position to be in if he can manage to keep in the slipstream of him. He could be in for a possible last-minute lunge.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he does. One of the things that has always made Jason such a good oval racer is he's consistent, and he you know, like I've jumped into service with him and spoken to him about things, and you know, and he always goes on about, you know, like you've just got to be real consistent, hit your marks every lap, lap after lap after lap after lap. I mean, you know, him and Dodman, they do that every lap, lap after lap, and that's, you know, that is why they're pulling away from the pack. And you know, some tracks Jason struggles on, some tracks Hayden struggles on, and you know, that sort of seems to be a bit like the battle we're watching right now. You know, that's generally the battle between these two drivers in all the series we've ever seen them race each other.
That's it. It's very tricky when you're both very equally skilled drivers and very sort of have the same sort of driving style as well. Like you said, their consistency is very important, having that sort of managing to hit your marks every single lap. And if you can do that, you really will do well in an oval, because it is really all about that consistency, just getting that lap time in, just setting those perfect corners and really not letting the car really change much.
Yeah, and of course with the oval racing, I mean, like a small mistake in, you know, on the exit of the corner finishes the next corner, you know, and when everything's, you know, when all the cars are running virtually at the same speed, you know, 2 or 3 miles an hour, I mean, that's all it takes between losing a spot and gaining a spot.
We've got a good little battle with Ashley Lear in 4th, Riley Curtis, Dave Douglas and Stephen Williams. They're having a very good battle. Sam, and again I'm going to butcher the last name, Katakazunas?
Yeah, Sam K.
Yeah, it's Sam K, that's an easier way. He's having a really good drive as well. He's actually managed to get up to 8th position. So we're coming down to the last couple of laps now. 1.5 laps remaining, and Jason Martin is just trying to hold on to the back of Dodman there. Sometimes it can be best to be sitting second at some of these races, because you can get a bit of a better drive off the last corner. You can get the win a little bit easier. But it does look like Dodman is holding him off, and he's managing to hold the lead at a decent distance. And we've got a bit of an off in the infield. It looks like Sam Kay and who was that? Ashley Lear. Ashley Lear actually has had a bit of an off there. They went off on the infield. It's managed to keep everything green though, so we're not going to have a yellow finish. We're not going to finish under yellows, hopefully. We're going to finish under cautions. Hayden Dodman is coming around the sort of final corner for the last lap, and he is going to take the flag, and he takes the flag. Hayden Dodman wins with Jason Martin second, Josh McLemore third, Riley Curtis fourth, Dave Douglas fifth, Stephen Williams sixth, Matt Danso seventh, Norman Clark eighth, Ashley Lear manages to get ninth, and Joshua Carroll Warden just letting everything settle down there. It looks like Norman Clark got 10th actually. Where am I? I think it's just studying down, sorry.
I know, I've got it up here. Norman Clark at 8th, and Ashley Lear 9th, Josh Carroll Walden 10th, Sam Kay, he looks to be placed in 11th, Chris Purnell 12th, Edward Foster 13th, Danny G 14th, Nick Shields 15th, Full Otto, bit of a quiet move of the old Full Otto. Unfortunately caught up in a bit of a wreck earlier on. He's in 16th, Darren McKenzie 17th, Daniel Stevens, first of the cars, 1 laps down, 18th, Nicholas Walsh, 2 laps down, 19th, James Foster. Didn't see much of James tonight.
No, he had a very quiet race actually.
Yeah, normally he's up front, bloody having, or up front, mid-pack, and having some massive races. Yeah, he's placed, what's that, 20th? Dwayne Priest, he's placed 21st. Michelle Callow has placed 22nd. Bruce Smith has placed 23rd. Matty Clowett, he's placed 24th. Aaron Dillon 25th. Roger Clark 26th. Kai Sloggett. Kai unfortunately had a bit of a dropout, so he didn't take to the grid. Todd Maxfield and Matt Hunter round off the entries in the standings. Yeah, Matt Hunter had a very quiet race up here in the booth doing the camera work, but good job by him. No, he's always doing a good job. Yeah, I was just actually having a look back at that that incident between Sam Kay and Ashley Lear. and it looks like Dave Douglas had actually slightly come up the track and pinched Ashleigh up into the wall, and he's tagged the wall and come back down and caught Sam up in it. And,
that's a real shame. Sam Clark was having a... Sorry, where am I? Sam K. And Ashleigh were having a very good race. Ashleigh had a very sort of good race up until that point. But luckily, they both managed to keep it across the infield, so they didn't lose too many places. That could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, it could have been. So I think we'll grab a couple of drivers, come through and ask some questions and see what they think. I actually want to pull Danny G up from the MFR room and have a word with him about that wreck that he was involved in with Purnell.
Yes, please do.
Danny G. Oh no, come back here.
Running away from us.
Yeah, Danny G. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you fellas?
Oh yeah. We've been having a good watch at what's been going on. Hey, I just wanted to ask, what happened with that wreck with old Chris Purnell?
I'm not too sure. I don't know what happened. I think 10 might have gotten into him, and he corrected, and I went high, and I thought I had a good run, and the next minute I was sort of sideways in the wall. But up until then, I thought I was going to head for the top 5 for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of hard luck. We only just caught the tail end of that, and it kind of looked like Purnell had just gotten a bit loose, and sort of that whole running real close in the pack, and next thing he was into you, which is kind of a shame because you were running really well, sort of most of the race. Yeah, I don't know, Kyle, you got some questions for Danny G?
Yeah. Hey, Danny, how you going? So yeah, it's a damn shame. You're looking like you're having a really good battle there, keeping sort of up the pack. How was the car out there tonight? How were you feeling out there tonight? I mean, you were having some really good races out there, and then unfortunately the crash happened.
I didn't get too much practice in, so I was a little bit off. I was happy with the qualifying lap, and I just sort of tried to stick in the top 10 until the end. And when I sort of knew the track and knew what was going to happen, I sort of put my foot down. And I think I had a couple of laps fresher tyres during some caution periods. But I was definitely coming. I was aiming for the top 5. Yeah,
it is a shame. It looked like you were getting there for the whole race. So, yeah, very, very sad to see you get knocked out when you did.
It's all good. It happens.
Okay. Alrighty, so shall we if we can drop... can't speak. Been too much tonight. That first sort of section where I was doing it all alone took a little bit out of me. So let's see if we can grab anyone else.
On YouTube, I'm guessing.
We might just grab Chris Purnell actually. Hey Chris, how are you going?
I'm good, mate. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Very interesting race there. There's some really good moves. You were having a really good race from what we could see. How did you feel it went?
Oh, race was killer. It was probably some of the best racing I've seen. I absolutely screwed my quality lap up and made a hash of it. I had to start out at 16th, and I just had a blinder of a start at the start of the race and moved up like 5 spots within the first lap or 2. And yeah, it just felt comfortable, and the car was quick on the bottom.
Yeah, you looked really good out there tonight. A little bit of trouble at the end, was it for you?
Yes, I've got a little bit of a biff with the driver, but I won't say anything, but he knows he'll have it coming back to him at some point.
It's never good when that happens. It's a shame you dropped down a bit, but still not a terrible finishing position for the qualifying position. You managed 12th, I think, in the end.
Yeah, 12th's alright. Solid points, and just haul them away and just keep plugging away at the championship and see where I finish up at the end of the season.
That's it. There's still a lot of races to go, so a long way before the end. We've got Daytona next week for the racing. Are you looking forward to that?
Not really. Daytona's not a favourite of mine. It's it's more a wild card race where anybody can win at the right time. It's just a matter of who's there at the end when they need to be.
That's it. It's always the important place to be at the end, as if you can be sort of close to the front at the end, you've usually got a good shout. Again, it was a really good race. Sorry to see you get knocked out. Hopefully we'll have better luck next weekend.
Yeah, that's it. I'll regroup and get ready for Saturday for the cup race and then go from there.
Thanks so much, Chris Pennell there.
Beautiful. Cheers.
And I'll just grab Edward Foster over next. Hello, Ed. How's it going?
Oh, I forgot you were here, Carl. How you going?
I hate you so much. I had to do that. I had to do that pretty much the first 3 quarters there on my own. So that was an interesting experience.
I did actually have a bit of a eye on what you guys were doing, and I did see that you're alone for a little bit. So yeah, but yeah. Anyway, hope it was a good race on your end. Anyway.
Yeah, it was a good race to watch, absolutely, and a good race to commentate on. It looks like you had a bit of an accident sort of halfway through the race.
I kind of was hoping that you guys hadn't seen that.
Oh, the comic booth sees all, mate.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, it was just one of those. I had the rear bias set too far rearward, like from the start of the race, really. And that I'm fairly sure is why I was actually not able to keep up with the other guys on the long runs. Is just for just wearing the rear tyres out. I couldn't get on the throttle anymore. So I adjusted it as far forward as I was able to, sort of from the cockpit. But of course, you're a bit limited in doing that as well. So came down with overheated, worn rear tyres onto pit road, and yeah, just not the first time I've done it, and I guarantee it won't be the last. So that gave me enough damage that I had no straight line speed left anymore at all. Tried to fix as much of it as I could, but nah, just not my night. This isn't my track anyway, but not my night in general.
A real shame. You were running really well at the start. You were running sort of top 8 pretty much the whole sort of first half of that race, and it's a real shame that you dropped out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't drop out, I dropped down.
I
still made the end. But yeah, it was one of those things where, I mean, I think I got up as far as 5th at that stage, but I was always on a bit of a stay of execution up the front, I think, because just wasn't able to get the long run pace that a lot of the other guys were able to have. And I think that was mainly due to that bias issue that I had, which was mainly just, which I'd set in the first place just to try and get the car to turn because I was struggling with that. So it was almost a trade-off of burning up the rear tyres versus burning out the right front. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it worked out. I really, really hate finishing outside the top 10. But, yeah, anyway, next week, or next couple of weeks, we'll be back.
Yeah, and hopefully better luck next time at Daytona.
Oh, yeah, okay.
At least it's not Sonoma.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows that I'm not overly fond of super speedways, but it is what it is, and we'll go there. I mean, the last time we went there in Thunder, I actually won it, so I think it'd be unlikely for that to happen again. It's a bit like entering the lottery when you're running on super speedways, so you just got to kind of deal with it as it comes, and yeah, we'll just try our best, obviously. So. No, there's a very good reason why we keep this series invite only, mate. You're about to see it.
Okay, thank you so much there, Ed. Good luck next week.
Yeah, fortnight's time.
Yeah,
and obviously we've got the cup race at Watkins coming up on Saturday as well. So yeah, it's a fairly intense few days, and I'll be looking forward to having a bit of time off.
Enjoy your time off when you get it. Thanks so much, Ed.
Thanks a lot.
All right, I think we'll wrap up the broadcast and the interviews with the Edward, and we'll catch everybody next week. Next week for the trucks.
I keep doing it myself. I keep forgetting it's a fortnight. It's a terrible thing to do. So yeah.
Yeah, no, we've actually shifted it back to fortnightly racing just so that it gives guys the opportunity to run other races. To try and keep numbers up, and obviously, if people want to go out and drive Indy cars, for instance, they can do that, or rallycross and whatnot. So yeah, that was the whole idea behind shifting it to a fortnightly series. We think it works. You know, it's nice having a bit of a week off every now and then.
Absolutely. You don't want to be doing it every single week sometimes. It's good to have a little bit of a rest between, especially if you have a bit of a bad race, so you can sort of get over it a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I think it's also spurred on a lot of the faster drivers to jump into the trucks, and you know, we've always had a lot of guys that have, you know, they've complained about wanting to get up into the Thunder, and you know, can they get into the Thunder? And you know, you try and explain to them that it's a lot different to racing the trucks. I mean, the cars are a bit more, you know, they're a bit more difficult to drive, but just the level of competition steps up that much between trucks and Thunder that, you know, the first round we had at Charlotte was a bit of an eye opener, where we had virtually all the Thunder guys jumped in with the truck guys, and you know, your top 10 was virtually only Thunder drivers, and you know, I think that was a bit of an eye opener for a lot of the guys racing who'd been wanting to get straight into the Thunder series, and then saw that, hey, look, you know, it's a lot more difficult, and you know, the guys in the Thunder series, they, you know, that they're not afraid to give a bit of a bump and run and that sort of thing, and it's, you know, it's probably a lot closer to real world racing, as it were, where the trucks is, you know, obviously a bit of, not the introductory series, which would be the K&N series, but you know, like, there is still good competition. It's still good, hard, clean racing, but you know, you sort of got to get stepped up to the next level kind of thing, and yeah, you know,
sometimes when you jump up to that next level, it can be a big jump indeed. It's not always a small step, and from trucks to these slightly heavier cars, it is a big difference between the driving styles that you need.
Yeah, and you know, like I say, these Xfinity cars are actually a bit trickier to drive. Once you got heat in the rears, as Edward was saying, I mean, they slide all over the place, and you know, it makes for some pretty entertaining looking racing.
Absolutely, and we were lucky to witness that tonight.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, we'll wrap it up with that.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Glad you could join me for that last bit, Roger. It made my life a lot easier, and thank you everybody for watching there, and we will see you next time at Daytona.
All good. We'll see you then.